for Monday. Okay, so we have our place value system, yeah? Alright, so this was a nice picture. If we go this way, what happens?
Oh, it'll go from like tenths, hundreds,
Good.
thousands.
So we would have a decimal point here, wouldn't we? And then it would be tenths, hundred, right, and so on. But I'm interested in, will be eventually this, but I want to go through this whole times 10 thing, okay? So, the reason we are working in what we call base 10, because every time you get 10 of something, you put a mark in the next column, yeah? That's how it works. So we have 10 digits, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 9. When you get to 9 and you then get a 10th thing, you put a 1 in the next column. You do it again, you get a 2 in the 10th column. When you have 10 lots of 10, you have 100. Alright? But if you've got 10 lots of 10, you also have 100 lots of 1. That's why it's called hundreds. 10 lots of 100 makes 1,000. How many tens are there in 1,000?
1,000. 10,000.
100. What?
100?
Yeah.
Just
100.
100.
There's 10
I
tens
get it.
and 100. And then,
I get it.
So what you do, that question I've just asked you guys, so what you would be doing is this. If I said to you, how many tens do I need before I have 1,000? I could start at this column here, all right, and get to the thousands column, change the colour, okay, and I work out how many times do I need to get up the columns. So I would need to multiply by 10 once, yeah, then multiply by 10 twice. That would get me to the right column, yeah. So how many tens are there in 1,000? 100. Because times 10 followed by times 10 is the same thing as times in by 100.
It's like 10 times 2 because it's 2 times by 10. It's like an experiment.
See, that's what I want to hear. It's like an exponent. Because what's another way of saying multiplying by 10 twice or multiplying by 100?
10 squared.
Yeah, good. We actually multiply by 10 squared.
Would you like us to write this down?
You could write that down if you like. So we should write how many tens in 1,000 is the question, and that's basically how we've done it, yeah?
100,000.
So my question was, let me just write it there. My question was, how many hundreds are there in a million? So I put that and we said, right, we go times 10 once, then twice, then 3 times, 4 times. Okay, so if I were to write that down, okay, which I am going to, right? So the question is, how many hundreds in 1 million? Okay. So this would be like if I had only $100 bills, how many would I have if I had a million? So it would be times 10, how many times?
A million.
4 times, which is times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is 10,000. So there are 10,000 hundreds in 1 million. Now the names, millions, relate always to the units, don't they, the ones. How many ones are there in a million? A million. Yeah? How many 10,000, how many ones are there in 10,000? 10,000, right? So our naming system is all based on the ones, but we can still use this tens thing, right? Does that make sense?
I must say that question is really easy to overthink. Like,
Yes, no, you're right, yeah. Really easy. And that's because, and we're doing that because the next stage, what we're going to look at is is there a way of writing other numbers using this, right? So for instance, I haven't printed this bit out for you, but I figured you could always write this yourself, okay? This number here, if I asked you to read it to me, Alistair, what do you say it was? So based on the fact that we would say that's 3 million, and so I'm going to now just say that this, oh, right, here's my pen, this is 3 million, okay? But I'm also going to write that, instead, I'm going to write that as 3, but times 10 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because that's the millions column, yeah? The 2 is 2 times 10, how many times?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
5.
It only
It's
goes
one.
until that number.
8 is multiplied by 10, how many times to get it to the right column?
4. 3. No. 2.
Times 10 to the power of
2. And then
6 times
1. 10.
10 to the power 1, or just 10, good.
Yeah.
And then finally, it'd be 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 0. Good, isn't it? Well done. All right. Yes.
I'm going to write that down.
Are you actually desperate? I tell you what, next stage is for you to write those things down. Yes, Joe?
So, when you're writing it like this, do you have to put the 1 and the 0 so that you know the
Okay,
difference?
that is a good question. So what we would not normally do, we wouldn't normally bother with the 1, and I wouldn't actually bother with the times 10 to the power 0. So this would be, it would be 6 multiplied by 10, but this one would just be 3. I would only bother. So the rest of them I can write like that. Right, does that make sense? So, what have I written? 3 times 10 to the 6 is another way of writing 3 million. 2 times 10 to the power of 5 is another way of writing 200,000, yeah? So I can write that as 200,000. This is 3 million. This is 80,000. This is 7,000. This is 200, and this is 60. You see? Now, do you remember what this unit is kind of about? The global context of it is?
Orientation of space and time.
And what are we doing with that? We're looking at being able to write our numbers in such a way that enables us to explore the universe and head off into space. Now, if we consider space, what can we say about space apart from it's black and there's lots of space?
Stars?
Alright? How far away are the stars?
Light years.
Right, long, long way, right? So if we had to write down how many minutes it would take to get to even Mars, if we had to write down how many kilometers it was to get to Pluto, would we have to write some really big numbers? All right, now the problem with that, when we do our maths, is we don't really want to write, well, 3 million's a really small number. So let's say we had to write 568 billion kilometers, because that's how far we have to go. And we had to write that number a lot. Would it be not better to be able to write it in a different way than have to write all the zeros? Right, can you see how what's on the board could enable us to write down 3 billion in a different way? Any ideas?
3B.
No, I wouldn't do 3b. Because I haven't done 3 million as 3m, have I?
3 to the power.
3 times 10 to the power of 9, isn't it? Yeah? I don't think it, yeah, because if we went, I think what, yeah, so I think it does depend as well, doesn't it? Because if you're American or English. But I think the next column is 10 millions, and then it's 100 millions, and then I think it's, is it billions, 1,000 million is a billion, yeah? So the next column along, so this would be times 10 to the power of 7. The next one would be times 10 to the power of, and the next one would be times 10 to the power of 9. So if I had to write billions, I wouldn't write the 3 with all the zeros, I would write it using this notation, right? So, we get the idea then that this is just another way of writing this. Alright? Now, I have split this number up. That's an important thing. Normally, I would not write this all split up. I would write it in one way, as one number, because that wouldn't help us to split it up. But I'm not going to tell you how to do that. Alright? There's a reason for that. Hopefully you'll twig why. Right, in your textbook, I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of this. We haven't got much time, but can I get you maybe something that's going to help you prepare? I think if you look at, is it page 21 in your textbook? Let's see whether I can. Is this the right one? Okay, so this is the question to look at. All right.
Practice 3.
Now, do you notice, look, that if we have something like a giga, I guess you, with your computers, you must have heard about gigabytes.
Oh, yeah.
How many bytes is a gigabyte?
100 billion.
So, well, 100
We
billion?
have, so if I
Or is it
have,
1,
One
but
billion.
times 10 to the power of 9, yeah?
don't we
Right?
have
How many bytes is a megabyte?
7.
a kilobyte?
How many bytes is a kilobyte?
10,
1,000?
10.
10 to the power of 3. Look, it's in this table. This is what I'm...
Oh, 3.
Kilo, you've also heard of kilogram, kilometre, or kilometre. Kilo always means the same thing. It means
What about the decimal?
times 10 to the power of 3.
What about the decimal?
1,000, yeah? So if you see kilogram, you know it's 1,000 grams, right?
Would the one
Right.
under that be like,
Right, now these ones,
would that be like
now you know what a negative exponent means.
tenths?
Well done.
Tenths?
Well, do you know what? You came up with the right answer when none of you were saying anything and you just chuckled at him. That means tenths. Divide by 10. Now, hopefully that will mean something to you with our columns. That's why I asked you at the beginning. What do you think 10 to the minus 2 is?
Negative.
No, that's not what we did.
It's
Hundreds.
hundreds.
It's not negative, is it, with the exponents?
After the decimal
Oh,
point,
yeah.
after the decimal point is negative, and after the decimal point you add a THS to the
Yeah.
next.
All right, so, guys, let me make it clear then. This was the question that I will say to you. If you can get your head around these, all right, and what we've just talked about, you want to study a bit over the weekend, ready for your test. If you can do that question and understand it, all right, then you've prepared quite well for the test that you're going to be doing, all right, on Monday.
To do question 2 on the
Right, so again, so it's on the video. Please stay sitting down. I've still got 4 minutes. It's only 1 o'clock and we don't go till 5 past, right? So, your test on Friday, so on Monday, I've already said there's not an awful lot of preparation to do. I'm not asking you to learn all the, well, you need to know the rules of exponents, but the good preparation for it will be this question, all right? I am not setting it for homework. Be like me giving you a review packet But the review packet I'm giving you is, you might want to do that question. The reason why I'm not setting your homework is because the answers are in the back of the book. So some of you would just copy the answers out the back of the book and hand it in and go, there, I did it. All right? That would not help you in your assessment. So I'm just giving you a helpful hint. Those of you that feel like, oh, I might want to read further in this textbook and see whether there's any other helpful hints, may well get an even bigger hand up in the test on Monday. But I'll leave that entirely up to you and how much you want to do well. But I would say, have a go with this question if you want to. It may well help you. And that's been recorded. So if anyone comes back to me and says you didn't know what to do, I'll just play the video for you. So the first thing I asked you was for a reason. I said to you, if I had tens, how many thousands is that? So you could come up with a little table that says, all right, so with this question, maybe you could apply it and say, right, how many picograms are in a kilogram? So pico is 10 to the minus 12. You know what that means now, right? We've just been discussing it. It means going the other way past the decimal point. So I'm going to go from pico up to kilogram. So I've got to go from negative 12 to 10 to the power of 3. All right, that's how we're looking. So you might want to set up your own little table to do it. Okay?